Hello, this is my video on my ranking of legacy games that I have played over the years. It's something I've wanted to do for ages and ages and ages, and I finally got around to it now, which is probably about 2 years after the time I should have done it. So I've forgotten most of the stuff, but it's still just something I want to do, just to tick off a box so I can say I accomplished something in life that I set out to do. So I'll be ranking legacy games. I love playing a range of legacy games over the years, co-op and competitive ones. I haven't played all of them. There are quite a few that I haven't played, so I'm only going to be ranking obviously the ones I have played. The ones I have played in order of Board Game Geek rank are Pandemic Legacy Season 1, Gloomhaven, Clank Legacy, Pandemic Legacy Season 0 and Season 2, My City, Aeon's End Legacy, King's Dilemma, Chartstone, Risk Legacy, Zombie Kids Evolution, Seafall, Vampire the Masquerade Heritage, and finally Ultimate Werewolf Legacy. So I will be ranking them. My order is not the same as the order on BGG, as you'll see probably very soon. Obviously there's going to be spoilers in this, and while maybe some of my reasons are blurred to time and may not be entirely accurate, the rankings I gave are accurate based on how I feel at the end of playing them. So without any further ado, let's get on to the one that is bottom of my list, which is Gloomhaven. I rank this one a 4. Now I know it's a very, very popular game, but I really didn't enjoy it. I mean, to be honest, now I'm not even sure if you call it a legacy with all the reusable stickers or anything. Basically, it's not what I want in a dungeon crawl. If I'm playing a dungeon crawl, I want to be doing stuff where I'm just going around killing stuff and not really thinking too much and just getting cool powers and smashing loads and loads of stuff. And this is a bit too. I like playing Euro games, but it's a bit too. It's not. I don't want to be playing Euro games in a dungeon crawl, I think I would say. I think one of the reasons perhaps is I dislike my character. I can't remember what I had the mind thief or something that can control people, but it just didn't seem to be that good. The powers it got were kind of, and equipment were boring. Missions took too long. I dislike the card system for working out if you hit and do damage as opposed to dice, because if like sometimes it meant if your best card was gone, it meant you had a very, very small chance, or you probably had no chance of succeeding on something. Experience was very slow, and when I think I played it for 9 games with a group with 4 people, and I stopped and then came back after a couple to join back up with. So there were 4 of us playing. 2 of us really didn't like it. 2 people did really like it. I left and came back, and I discovered that like one of the things that I was really looking forward to is when my character is finished with and unlock a new character, I get to unlock a new character. But it turns out one of the other players had already unlocked that new character that I was going to unlock, so it seemed a bit pointless having that. And that also said that I thought you change characters too frequently for me. I wanted to get like my character to be really cool and powerful, and then it was at that point that it was ready for that character to move on. The other player who played disliked it for different reasons from me. He kind of felt he was one of the mages, and he felt the choices he made were very, very obvious, and so it didn't have much decision making in the game for him, which is something that's important for me. I didn't get that for it, but as I say, it's not what I want in a dungeon crawl. Too much thinky, too. I like just going around killing things, but it was just, yeah, I did not enjoy it. Also, the loot system I hated. I just like everyone to get the loot. I didn't like how like you had to get the loot for yourself. Yeah, it's just wasn't enjoyable. Obviously, I'm in the minority, but there you go. Okay. Next is Charterstone, which I gave 5. I don't know if I said Gloomhaven I gave 4. Anyway, Charterstone I gave a 5. I played it with a group of 4. Same group of 4 we played Gloomhaven with. It started off quite as a nice, simple, competitive worker placement type game, and I like a nice worker placement game. But it just got, as the game went on, it got more complicated. By each placement, you had things like ghosts and pets and assistants and things like that, where you had like if you went onto one place, you ended up doing like 4 different things, and it got too complicated for me. Also, there didn't seem to be a way to have, I think in a competitive legacy game for me, there needs to be some kind of catch-up mechanism for players who lose, and not the opposite sort of thing, so that players who win get better and better, which Charterstone didn't seem to have for me very much. I kind of halfway through the game realised I wasn't going to win, and so maybe this is part of the reason why I don't like it. It's my own fault, but I kind of thought I was going to deliberately start making bad choices in the game, because the whole game is about sort of helping the king and the kingdom, and I thought, well, if I make all these bad choices, maybe it'll ruin the king, and then it'll end up at the end of the game. It was a very big long shot, I'll admit. At the end of the game, then the king gets killed or something, and then the person who did the most damage to the king is actually the winner, sort of thing. So there's a time where you've got this candle you've got to, which is quite a nice thing. You have a candle that you've just got to keep burning for the whole game. As soon as the candle got to me, I just blew it out straight away. It was basically my thinking was, I'm not going to win this game normally, so let's just try and do, I wouldn't say quite tanking the game, but that's kind of, I just wanted to try and make all the things wrong, all the choices that were wrong for the king to be successful. It didn't work out for me. I still lost hideously. I know it's a game that you could go back to and play with the board that you've made up. I would never bother. I would never bother playing again. Didn't enjoy it. As I say, started off simple, but just got too much for me. Didn't like it. Next, so those ones were the games that I sort of overall I didn't like. Anything with my rankings, if it's a 5 or lower, overall I don't like. If it's a 6 or higher, overall I liked it. So next is Seafall, which I gave 6 to. Initially, we played the prologue as a 5-player game, and it was an awful experience. Took too long, took forever, just seemed pointless, really, really dull, and just one of the worst experiences of my life, gaming experiences of my life, I should say. But then about 3 years after that, three of us came back to it, and it was a much more enjoyable game with 3. The games were quicker. It still wasn't amazing. I gave it a 6, but still, I kind of went the way of choosing colonies, and it ended up being quite a boring choice, but it meant that I think I quite easily won, whereas the other 2 players were doing like the fun stuff of going in the tombs more often, or going to the new islands and discovering stuff. So things like that. So they were doing more interesting stuff, but I was doing the boring thing, and it kind of worked. That said, there was very, very little interaction between any of us. It just seemed like attacking each other was counterproductive to the game, which was so attacking each other was counterproductive, which was a shame, because it'd be nice to attack each other, but it just seemed to be too hard and pointless. The light thing that you could shine on the car, that was a cool idea, sort of to find out who the guild were or something like that. We actually forgot about that for ages, and it was only when we were getting, I think, towards the end of the game, it's like, well, there's this huge thing we've missed, what have we done? And we remembered about the light. We went back and discovered that, and that was quite cool. To this day, I'm still not sure if we actually ended the game properly, because I can't remember how we worked, because you've got to get to the island at the end of the world, and I can't remember how I did it, but I got to the island at the end of the world, and I'm not exactly sure if I did the right thing to get to the island of the world. There was no log in the book that says you've won or something like that. But anyway, it was I think playing it as a 3 made it a more enjoyable game. It's still not great, and I probably wouldn't play it again. But there we go. Risk Legacy is my next one. I gave this one a 6 as well, but liked it slightly more. I think it's the very first Legacy game. I played this with a group of 4, a completely different group of 4 to any of the other people, any of the games I've played with. I enjoyed the sort of the opening the boxes. There was good legacy things. There was a bit of a mix up in the game. I think it's sort of consistent that there's aliens and there's zombies, and they're in the wrong boxes when you unlock them. So when you unlock the zombies or whatever, you're actually unlocking aliens, which kind of ruins that. but still, that was quite fun. I liked there was a big catch-up mechanism that at the start of each game you chose your faction, and the order was determined by who came last in the last game, I think. So that was good. We'd unlocked, however, we kind of by 2/3 of the way through the game, we'd unlocked everything in the game, and it kind of got, and so all the games after that we kind of got to the same. It was just a bit samey. I think we did, and it was Risk at the end of the day. A lot of just the usual, everyone hangs out in Australia and, until they can. I think actually the winner ended up doing more stuff in Africa somehow, putting more stickers on related to them in Africa, and that's how they won. But yeah, it was. I probably wouldn't bother playing it again. There we go. Then King's Dilemma, which I gave a 7. Played it with a group of 4. I thought it was a game of 2 parts. So you each in King's Dilemma, each player has a house that they're responsible for, and each house has its own objectives and personal objectives they're trying to do. And on top of that, you have your objectives for each game, and you're voting on those objectives. So you're voting on things to happen which could influence those objectives. And I felt that the times when I was voting on stuff which affected me directly were quite interesting, but the times when I was voting on stuff that didn't affect me, I couldn't give a monkey's about. And it may well have been, and all the other players were the same. It may well have been in a more cutthroaty type thing where people were being more petty and voting on stuff against stuff they didn't care about just to spite the player. It might have made it a more enjoyable game, but I just kind of, and the way all 4 of us played, we was if it doesn't concern us, I don't care. And so it meant a lot of some story and stuff like that that had no influence on me. I didn't really care about the backstory. On top of that, some of the themes in there I found a bit unnecessary. There's slavery, and I think you have to go and assassinate people and innocent people and things like that. And it's I get people say sometimes you have to have things like this in games to encourage discussion. I'm not playing games to have discussion about slavery. Sorry, no, I'm playing games to have fun, and there's no need for it for me. Still, that said, I enjoyed it on the whole. The final battle thing you have at the end with the big rebellion wasn't that great, but yeah, gave it a 7. Would I play the Queen's Dilemma, which I think's come out the sequel? Probably not. Next is also gave a 7 is Vampire the Masquerade Heritage. I'm a huge World of Darkness fan from the 1990s, where Vampire the Masquerade come from. I got it mainly for that reason, for the Vampire the Masquerade theme. The theme didn't really shine through. I didn't feel the artwork was amazing on the cards, but yeah, the theme of you're being vampires manipulating things behind the scene didn't really come through. It was sort of each game was 3 mini games, and it just didn't feel like it was being lots of political stuff. It was just moving things around. The group I played with, group of 3, it's a very backstabby game, and sort of take that game, and sorry, yeah, not backstabby, take that. And the 3 that me and the other 2 that play, we kind of play in a very take that kind of way, so it worked really well with us. For others, I don't think so. And the other 2 players actually were not aware at all of the Vampire the Masquerade theme at all, so that meant nothing to them. And they still, I think, enjoyed it, and as I say, they really enjoyed the take that. The take that of it was really major part that they liked, and I think that's the part that I liked. I didn't ever feel like each turn you're sort of playing a vampire, and that affects the mini games. I often didn't feel like the vampires I played had that much effect overall. I think it's a game that works well with the group I played with. If I played with another group, it probably wouldn't be as good. And again, it's another game that you can supposedly play again. I've actually sold my copy off, and I probably wouldn't play it again. I don't think I'd have any need to. So yeah, that's Vampire Masquerade Heritage. Next, I had another 7, Aeon's End Legacy. I played this with a group of four. I felt that it's having played a little bit of Aeon's End. The first couple of games are like less than Aeon's End. It almost seemed like a way to learn. So Aeon's End sort of complexity up here, and the first couple of games of the Legacy were down here as a way to learn the game, which I think is a pretty good way to learn the game. This is one I really have very little recollection of. I remember I enjoyed it. I remember, we played a group of four. It's a co-op one. Sorry, I should probably say that if you're not aware. Each time you're just trying to destroy a big bad. It's a deck builder, but you play your cards in order. I think I would rather just play a regular game of Aeon's Ends. I think Aeon's End I rate an 8. And I know you can actually introduce some of the stuff from the Legacy into the regular game, but it just seemed less than regular Aeon's End at the start, and just built up to it, and then the bits that made it different, I didn't think made it better than regular Aeon's End. We won most of our early games, and then I think we basically won our first 5 games and then lost the next 6. We almost won the final battle, but not quite. But yeah, so it was. I enjoyed it, but I think I would rather just play regular Aeon's End. Next, got Zombie Kids Evolution, which I gave a 7 to. It's a very, very quick, very, very simple competitive Legacy game. You can play it in 20 minutes. It's possibly mainly a kids game, but I mean, I played it with a group of 3 most of the time. I think it's actually quite cool that you can play it with 2, you can play it with 3, you can play it with 4, and it can change all the time, because I think one of the objectives is to win a game with 2 players, one's to win a game with 3, one's to win a game with 4. So that was quite interesting. I like the powers that you got as you sort of got on. You got clones, and also the zombies that gain powers again. It's another one that you can play afterwards with different sort of, and have different challenges to play afterwards. I think we played 2 games quickly afterwards. I don't think I'd ever need to play it again. There's Zombie Teens Evolution. Maybe I would give that one a go, but I enjoyed it for what it was, but I don't know if I'd need to go back to kids. Okay, now we're on to the high ranking ones. Pandemic Legacy Season 0, which I gave an 8. Now the other Pandemics I played through twice with 2 different groups. This is the only one I played through once. I played through with 4 people, and this one, because the other Pandemics I played through twice, and the first time I played through, there was somebody else who was playing who was very good at remembering the rules and was good at enforcing the rules. So then the second time that I played through it, I knew the rules and was able to help the others who were playing it for the first time. Whereas this time, none of us had played through Season 0, so it meant we had to be a bit tighter on the rules, and there were quite a few rules that we weren't sure on what to do, and so I'm not sure if we implemented it correctly, but there we go. For me, it felt the least like Pandemic. It also felt the heaviest weight game of the Legacies, so that's why it's ranked. I gave it an 8, so I enjoyed it, but that's why it's ranked the lowest of the Pandemic Legacies. The roadblock rules felt kind of meh, that either you blocked something really early or it was impossible. The going into buildings thing was kind of tricky, and just it didn't feel at all like Pandemic, that bit. I think so that kind of that was the big difference, and I'm not sure if I really enjoyed it or not. The story again was interesting, but I can't. Yeah, there were clues for things that you had to work out. But I think this one, it felt, because I was trying to keep track of the rules more, I felt I was worrying less about the story than more about the rules. So again, maybe the experience rather than the game is why I say it's the worst one that I played. But I still would give it an 8. Then on to Ultimate Werewolf Legacy, which I also gave an 8. I played this with 12 other players, and me as the moderator. Excuse me. during lockdown over Zoom with a group who we've been playing regular werewolf with over Zoom for quite a while. I would say it's similar to Aeon's End Legacy, in that the first couple of games actually felt less than regular werewolf. And given the choice, I would actually probably play a game of regular werewolf. Regular werewolf, I'd rate a 9. Legacy, I'd rate an 8. So as I say, I think given the choice, I'd play regular werewolf. There were some interesting characters that were introduced in the game. I like the British soldiers and the muskets that can blow up in your face. A couple of interesting legacy aspects with the box, whether you want to open it or not. And kind of the legacy story, I thought it was a bit underwhelming. It was really just, it didn't really make sense because it was 15 different, maybe 15 different stories, or every sort of 30 years over the past 500 years. And so it kind of made no cohesive story, which I didn't really enjoy. And actually, at the end, it was just, well, if the werewolves have won most of the games, the werewolf wins. If the humans have won most of the games, the humans win, sort of thing. So I kind of added in some extra rules myself, of like, it was in families. There's groups of each player is in a family, so it's like who was the best family, and you could get points for like surviving till the end or killing werewolves and things like that. And that just, for me as a moderator, it made it slightly more engaging. I don't know if it made it made it more engaging for the players, but I enjoyed it more. I would also say, I think it was only the first game I played of Werewolf Legacy was the second game I'd ever moderated, and I would say it was a really good experience as a way of learning how to moderate games, because it had it all for you. So I thought that was really, really good. It was a great way to learn how to moderate, even if it perhaps was a lesser game than regular Werewolf. But again, I really enjoyed it, gave it an 8, and I have used since some of the aspects from the Legacy game in regular Werewolf. So there we go. Also, an 8 is My City. I've played this through a couple of times. I played it with 2 people in the real world, and then with 3 on Board Game Arena. Playing with 2 initially, some of the things were zero sum. So if there were 2 tracks or 2 things to do, one of us would go for the first thing and the other one would go to the second thing, and they would cancel each other out, like the mining or the trains or things like that. And so it was hard to build a big lead, but that also meant I think it made stay close, and that's why I enjoyed it. Also, it was not too complicated. It had rules for catching up, so if you the person who won each game got penalised, the person who lost each game got something which helped them, which I liked. Short game length. I would probably not play it again in real life. I might play the other ones. I know that's is it My, I can't remember, there's other My things come out. I would happily play it again on BGA with people who've played it, and I really enjoyed it, definitely. Happily play again. Sort of the placing of the tiles and things like that. Next is my favourite competitive Legacy game, which again I've given an 8. Clank Acquisitions Incorporated. I played it with 3, same 3 that I played Seafall and Vampire with. Again, we will all quite take that and laugh at each other. So it's kind of a fun game, and we had a fun sort of atmosphere playing with. The games were not too long, sort of about an hour each. We were able to do a couple a night when we played. I enjoyed the sort of the juxtaposition between winning the game or unlocking stickers and things and unlocking things on the board. And I think people who kept trying to win the game didn't win the game overall over the players who were trying to unlock stickers and put stickers down on the board. I really don't remember, although it's my favourite competitive Legacy game, I don't remember much about it at all. This is the problem, as I say, of wanting to do this thing for 2 years and just forgetting about it. But I think Clank's a fun game, and this was a fun game, and I enjoyed it, as I say, my most favourite competitive Legacy game. Hard to say why though. So then it's on to my top two, which are one of them season 1 Pandemic, one of them season 2. Very, very tricky to choose between the two of them for me, but I have as my number 2 is Pandemic Legacy Season 2, which I've rated as an 8. Again, as I said earlier, I've played it through with 2 groups of 4. It feels tougher than 1. I don't like the fact that you're lowering numbers as opposed to raising numbers when things go bad. For some reason, that felt worse. I can't explain why though. And the unlocking of, although it was kind of like you start off just in in Europe and a bit of North America, and the aim of the game is trying to explore the world. It kind of felt a bit linear in the ways you could explore, which initially, the very, very first time I played it, looked at it, it's like, oh, we can do whatever we want. But then after playing through it twice, it's like, well, kind of it is linear the way you explore. However, that said, it had the best ending ever to any of the Legacy games. The final mission, or the final chapter, December, is really, really tough no matter what you've done, and really, really interesting. And the first time I played it, it was one of the players. So I think one of the players has to inject themselves with a virus and get from somewhere in China to Johannesburg. And on the first time we played it, I can't remember why I had to do it, but basically I killed myself to make it easier for them to get back on the very last turn, and another player did the same sort of thing, that basically if the game had gone on another turn, they would be dead as well, just so the player could make it back. And it was so tense and so exciting, and the second time I played through it, exactly the same thing happened. It was a real tense finale, the best finale I've ever had in any of the Legacy games. But it wasn't my best overall experience. My best overall experience was Pandemic Legacy Season 1, which I've given a 9. As I say, play through twice with groups of 4. The first time I played through it, never done anything like it. It's the first Legacy game, I should say, it's the first Legacy game I've played, and in my opinion, never been bettered. It was very tense games. We won, we were one step away from losing, and when we lost, we were one step away from winning. It's still very, very similar to Pandemic, and sort of the story was interesting, and the reveals were interesting. I was engaged with it. Both times I played it. The only sort of disappointment for me compared with Season 2 was the last month was kind of easy both times. I think the first time I played it through, we'd lost December, but done quite a lot of stuff to win the game. And so the second time we played through it, we just won the game easily. And in the second group that I played it through, we'd lost a lot of, I think we'd lost 4 in a row just before it. And I think if you lose 4 games in a row, you get to open the box or something. And so we did that, and it made the December very, very easy. But yeah, it was an enjoyable experience. So there you go. That's my ranking of Legacy games. As I say, I really don't know why I did this. Why there's any point? It's just something I wanted to do for ages now, and it's literally taking me now to do it. So probably now I'm doing it is kind of pointless. I know there are other Legacy games out there to play, which I may well get to. I think one of the other reasons I did it is because I genuinely feel that I did not like Gloomhaven. But I'm just interested to see. Somebody said that if you put Gloomhaven and say it's really, really bad on a YouTube link, that it will get loads and loads of hits, and people will just see that as a comment on it. So I'm going to have a picture of me looking like this, and a picture of Gloomhaven, and the title is going to be "Is Gloomhaven the worst Legacy game ever?" Just to see what happens. If people are that petty that they'll just go and have a look click on that just to see what happens. And then they'll see this awful video. So if you've done that and you stay through to the end, well done. Thank you very much. And I apologise. I think I've rambled on for far too long, but thank you.